Today's video, I'm reacting to a movie recap. The movie's called Cherry. I have watched this movie. It's a very good movie. If you haven't watched the video, if you haven't watched that movie, I suggest you go watch the movie.
Cherry is an American crime drama film of 2021. The plot of the movie follows a young man, Cherry, who joins the army as a medic. Cherry is an American crime drama film of 2021. The plot of the movie follows a young man, Cherry, who joins the army as a medic before getting married to the love of his life, Emily.
He just called him Cherry. I don't think that's his name. I'm so sure that's not it. I don't remember what his name was in the movie, but his name was not Cherry.
Cherry is an American crime drama film of 2021. The plot of the movie follows a young man, Cherry, who joins the army as a medic before getting married to the love of his life, Emily. However, after returning from his 2-year service, he suffers from PTSD, due to which he becomes a drug addict.
He also skipped over one fact. He had a girlfriend when he met Emily, and he left her for Emily. As soon as he met her at his college. To be honest, it's good he left her because she was a bitch anyways.
For getting married to the love of his life, Emily. However, after returning from his 2-year service, he suffers from PTSD, due to which he becomes a drug addict, making his and
Yo, they skipped over so much, bro. Like, okay, wait.
Emily's life miserable.
Let him speak.
The movie starts in 2007 with a 23-year-old boy, Cherry, heading out on his truck to commit a robbery. Through his background explanation, it becomes evident that he's suffering from depression and is pretty much done with life. It turns out that he has been used to doing robberies and knows all the tactics to commit a successful one. As he enters the bank, he fires a gunshot into the air to scare off the public and goes straight to the teller to retrieve the money. As he looks at the lady teller, a certain kind of sadness overtakes him and he goes into a flashback. In 2002, when Cherry was attending his university, he fell in love with his beautiful classmate, Emily. After class, Emily comes to greet Cherry and introduces herself, but Cherry breaks her heart when he tells her he already has a girlfriend since high school named Madison, who goes to school in New Jersey. Cherry takes a bus to go meet Madison on the weekend. However, he becomes enraged and breaks up with her after she takes him to a strange party with every dude crushing on her. Later, Cherry starts working at a restaurant, but due to his poor dough-making skills, he fails to last even 2 weeks. After work, he goes to his best friend James Lightfoot's house. James' mother died when he was young, and later his brother returned from war all depressed, so James is mostly alone. Cherry and James then head to a bank to resolve an issue with Cherry's bank account. James' friend Roy and Roy's cousin Joe also tag along. Joe is signed up for the Marines, and James keeps insisting on Roy to stop his cousin from joining. As they reach the bank, James' wrecked car burns up, plus Cherry's bank issue is also not resolved. So, the 4 friends return back to James' house on foot. The next day, Cherry goes to meet some kids who want to use a Xanax, which Cherry has been taking for a while because of the panic attacks that he's been having lately. The kids tell Cherry about a party that...
Wrong. Yes, no, it's right. It's right, because they gave him... He had the Xanax and they gave him ecstasy.
Night, and Cherry decides to crash it. After getting high, Cherry goes to the party only to find Emily there. The two engage in a flirtatious conversation, after which they share a passionate kiss and spend the night together. Emily is a really compassionate and empathetic girl, and that is all a guy like Cherry wanted in it.
Also a crazy girl. Not gonna lie. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but she's the reason he has PTSD. I'm not gonna say why she's the reason, but you'll understand. I don't know how much he explains, but I'll explain it if he doesn't.
His girlfriend. She was a cure to Cherry's sadness. However, deep down,
she's
Emily herself
the
was
reason
a broken soul due to her abusive parents. When Cherry confesses his love for her, she only thanks him as she does not believe in love.
Yeah, she was like, he was like, I love you, and she was like, thank you. And then like kind of did that face that she's making right now, this face, she made that face, she stood up and just walked away. And he stayed with her after that.
When Cherry and Emily's relationship starts thriving, Emily decides to break up with Cherry and go study in Montreal. Cherry begs Emily not to break up with him, but she's adamant about her decision, and at last leaves. To cope with his sadness, Cherry decides to enroll in the U.S. Army as a medic.
Yeah, that's the reason. So he enrolled into the army because she broke up with him and he was sad about it. basically. Which is a very weird, like, oh, I'm sad, I'm gonna join the army. When he was going to college and he was, doing kind of well for himself. He was going somewhere. I don't know what he was studying, but he was in college for something. But then he just, oh, I'm gonna join the army, I'm sad.
Goes to the Armed Forces Career Center. At first, the officer takes him as a joker, but Cherry proves them all wrong by showing his will to find his...
I'm gonna put a clip of this guy, this the army enforcer or whatever, of him just, there's a clip in the movie where he's like, Joker. Like, I'm gonna play that clip.
Purpose. Finally, Cherry is sworn in to fulfill his 2-year service in the army. However, his friends are unaware of this. James keeps convincing Joe not to leave for the army as he fears that Joe will end up like his brother. Little does he know that his best friend Cherry also is enlisted himself. Just then, Cherry gets a call from Emily asking if he could meet her for the last time before she leaves.
That's not his name.
So Cherry calls her to a new restaurant where he's been working.
What kind of name is that anyway?
Cherry desperately waits for Emily, and she arrives with her friend Benji.
What kind of name is that?
Cherry's mad at her for bringing a friend along to say the last goodbye and politely asks her to leave. Cherry's really sensitive and weak. He gets really devastated by his heartbreak. The restaurant owner cheers him up and asks him to pay extra attention to a guest, Tommy. Tommy and Cherry hit off pretty well, after which Tommy drops Cherry in his home. As Cherry walks into his house, he's surprised to see Emily there. Seeing him, Emily starts tearing up and apologizes to him for her behavior. Cherry, being a devoted boyfriend, comforts her, and the two spend some quality time eating muffins. Later, Emily tells Cherry that she's decided not to go to Montreal as she's in love with him.
She decided not to go to Montreal because she was scared, because she loves him. She was scared of falling in love, so she broke up with him because she loves him. Makes so much sense, eh? I get it. You have trauma and shit, but just because you have trauma and I love you and I care for you, you're gonna break up with me? Bitch. Bye. Bye.
Cherry is puzzled and tells Emily that he's already joined the army. They decide to continue their journey separately, with Emily completing her 2-year degree and Cherry joining the army for 2 years. So they get married in a courthouse before Cherry's deployment. In 2003, Cherry started his basic training, which he had to get his head shaved and get a couple of different shots. During his training, he befriends Jimenez, who...
Don't forget the fact that they had to check his anal, what do you call it? His prostate. I don't know what the fuck you call it, but they had to check his ass. And there was a scene in the movie, they made it look very realistic, like of the inside, like you in the anus, right? And the camera's in the anus, and then you just see the guy flashing a light. It's very realistic. It's like muscles moving and everything, bro. Good job on that end. The scene wasn't needed, but they did it, and it looked glorious. It looked glorious.
Also wanted to be a medic. Cherry survives rigorous training and the horrible attitude of the sergeants. He's taken to Iraq as a medic, where he has no other choice but to witness horrible scenes. His fellow soldiers were also pretty sick with the training, and one even tried committing suicide. The only thing that kept Cherry going was the thought of returning back to Emily. He had to train with mannequins to get the basic war medic training, which he and Jimenez eventually passed. Finally, Cherry and his fellow soldiers are stationed on their first ever actual battlefield. As soon as Cherry steps foot in the war zone, he gets scared. His friend Jimenez motivates him and encourages him to get going. Cherry comes across a wounded soldier and is shocked to see his guts hanging out. He quickly puts his guts inside, assuring him that he will find him and sends him back in the chopper.
Like just seeing
after
the
Cherry
guts
returns to
out.
his camp, he and his fellows are in despair after being part of such a horrible experience. They witnessed 8 casualties on the first day and are scared for the rest of the year, as that area that they're stationed in is called the Triangle of Death. They continue patrolling every inch of the area all day long. At night, Cherry and Jimenez continue taking care of the wounded Iraqis, and both the buddies build a great friendship over time. One day while patrolling, Cherry asks his sergeant to take another route, as the route that they are on is not safe and could get their vehicle stuck in quicksand. The sergeant disregards Cherry's advice and decides to use the same route, after which their vehicle ends up getting stuck in quicksand. Jimenez and 3 other soldiers are sent to get a tow cable. Just when they leave, their vehicle is blown away by an IED. Cherry rushes towards the burned vehicle and is devastated to see Jimenez and the other soldiers burnt up. Having no other...
One second. That's him right there. Like, when remember, all of his friends is in there. Jimenez or whatever. All of the people he was stationed with. This is where everything changed for him, because like after this, like the only thing that was keeping him going was the fact that he had friends and people to talk to, you know, at the base. After this, he was like alone. It was just him, and he had to deal with everything himself. And I think this is what drove him kind of insane, you know.
Choice, but to fulfill his duty, Cherry is forced to put the burned up, boiling hot body of his friend into a bag. The grief of losing a friend takes a toll on Cherry, and he's unable to handle his loneliness. To cope with his sadness, he talks to Emily and vents his emotions. Finally, his 2-year service in the Army ends, and he returns home in 2005. He's warmly welcomed in the U.S. and honored with the Medal of Valor. However, Cherry does not think that he has achieved anything big. When Emily comes to his convocation, Cherry is relieved to finally reunite with her. Emily takes Cherry to a house.
I'm gonna put on a hoodie. There's a stain on it. It's coffee. Don't say anything.
House that she has built. Cherry starts taking night classes at a school Emily was working at and works during the day. Life looks great. However, having a traumatic experience during his training, Cherry starts suffering from PTSD and isn't able to sleep at night due to severe anxiety. He starts taking Xanax to cope with his panic attacks. Emily's frustrated to see Cherry's crazy behavior, and as a result, she also begins taking Xanax to deal with her own frustration. By that time, Cherry's best friend James has become an addict, and at one time he accidentally breaks into someone's house thinking it is Cherry's and ends up getting arrested. Cherry gets James bailed out, after which they start hanging out more often. Emily, on the other hand, is worried to see Cherry's negligence toward her and his duties. Seeing Emily's sadness, Cherry decides to get himself clinically treated. His doctor recommends Oxycontin, which he later starts abusing. Emily's done.
Yeah, that's what they do, bro. They just give you more pills. Cause that's gonna help. Give a drug addict pills, that's gonna help. Give a depressed person pills, cause that's gonna help. It'll definitely help. I don't see any other way to deal with PTSD or stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, whatever it's called, depression. There's no other way you can deal with it besides take more pills. That's actually I think that's the number one ranked thing to do. 100%.
Dealing with Cherry, and out of frustration, she decides to take Cherry's medications. Both of them start getting high together, reminiscing about old times, and eventually become addicts to Oxycontin.
They don't just eventually become addicts to Oxycontin, which is a pill, I guess. They start doing heroin. It didn't take long for them to start doing heroin, bro. Like, it almost happened immediately, not gonna lie.
Cotton. The two of them lead an addicted life and become dope fiends, injecting each other with heroin soon. Soon, Cherry goes bankrupt and starts asking for money from his drug dealer friend named Pills and Coke. Pills and Coke ask Cherry to look after a safe for him. Cherry agrees to do so, but...
Okay, here's this drug dealer now. He basically said, "Oh, look after the safe, and I'll give you some dope or something like that." And the stupid thing about it, he knows he's like a fiend. He's like an addict. If he's on a level, if you don't take drugs, he's gonna get sick. It's that bad. Like he needs the drugs. You know what I'm saying? So you said take care of the safe, even though you didn't tell him what's inside. You gave him a safe, and he knows that you're a drug dealer. There must be money or something in there. It's something important. You don't think he's gonna try to break into that safe? Like he gave it. He said, "Go fetch it. Keep it. I'll fetch it tomorrow." That shit gonna be gone, bro. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? You think they were just gonna, like, if I was him, like, I would let him go fetch it and bring it to me. Or if he doesn't bring it to me, I'm gonna go get it within those couple of hours that he got it. Like, he came back the next day, the shit was gone. Like, bro, it was
Later,
crazy.
he, along with Emily and James, break into the safe, only to find it packed with drugs. They use most of the drugs, and then one morning, while they're high, someone knocks on their door. Thinking that it's the police, they immediately flush all of the remaining drugs, but it turns out it's not the police at the door, but pills and coke. Pills and coke are boiling mad at Cherry after seeing the empty safe. He tells Emily and Cherry that his drug deal.
Why did he say it like that? Pills and coke are boiling mad at Cherry. Is his name actually Pills and Coke? I thought they only called him Pills.
Their boss, Black, is the owner of that safe, and he will soon kill all three of them if he finds out that all his drugs are gone. To save his and Emily's life, Cherry decides to rob a bank and pay back the money, the pills and coke. He goes to a bank and silently shows the teller a banknote that reads, "I have a gun." Having no other choice but to give in, the teller quickly hands Cherry a stack of cash without making any noise. After paying the money back, Cherry also manages to keep some cash for himself, and later the two of them enjoy and celebrate their win. While they're getting high in a restaurant, Cherry gets a call from Joe, who informs him that the police are looking for him. So Cherry decides to stay low-key for a few days and spends all his money on heroin until he runs out of cash. He then starts robbing other banks with the same tactic of silently showing the banknote to a teller, reading, "I have a gun."
Also, another thing I just want to point this out. Why is every Spider-Man character ended up being in the army or playing a role as an army, like Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and what's the other one? Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. All three of them right here. They've all worn the army uniform. It's weird.
And acquiring a load of money to fulfill his and Emily's desire for heroin. Despite robbing multiple banks, he still owes pills and coke money for his daily heroin usage. So one day he goes to a bank with pills and coke, asking him to drive the getaway car. After committing the robbery, he returns home only to find Emily frustrated as she hasn't taken heroin.
You see the bag, the bag over here? She was at work and he kind of forgot to give her a fix. He's supposed to, he always comes and gives her a fix during her breaks or whatever. And he didn't come that day because he was high. And that bag she just threw at him, she shit her pants. There's poop in the bag, and she threw it at his face. Yup.
In quite a long time. So Cherry injects her heroin, after which Emily has to be rushed to a hospital. The doctor diagnoses her with a drug overdose, and she is narrowly saved from dying. Emily's parents arrive to see their daughter. Her mother blames Cherry for Emily's condition, forcing him to leave Emily for good. Cherry complies and unwillingly leaves Emily alone, but soon Emily escapes her drug rehab center and reunites with Cherry. Cherry tries his best to send her back, but Emily's adamant about staying with him and getting high no matter what. Finally, the two get back to their hours and start being their usual selves. Later, Cherry.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not gonna say what happens in the end, but I feel like that's kind of she kind of I'm gonna get high, with or without you. The thing is, if you leave her, it's if she's gonna get high, she gonna get high. But at least you're not the reason she's doing it. She looked somewhat better in that scene when she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get high" and shit. She looked clean. She looked way better. So she probably was I don't know, bro. You should have just left.
Money and teams up with Pills and Coke and James to rob multiple tellers of the bank at once to attain more money. But as he enters the bank firing a gunshot in the air, James bails and runs away, leaving Cherry no choice but to back out. So the trio decide to let James drive the getaway car, and Cherry and Pills and Coke commit the robbery. Before the robbery, out of nervousness, Pills and Coke take a high-intensity drug. As he and Cherry enter the bank, he acts out of the ordinary, forcing Cherry to take hold of the gun. This infuriates Pills and Coke, and he bails. Cherry is left all alone, and the bank gates are closed on him. After much threatening, he manages to leave the bank. As he drives away with James, Cherry is worried that Pills and Coke will probably rat him out to the police if he gets caught, so he convinces James to look around for him. Finally, they find him and put him in the car, only to discover that he's been shot. Seeing Pills and Coke severely...
Also, when he got shot, I'm still confused about that, because the only scene they showed of him shooting the gun is he was fucked up. He was anxious and shit. So he just shot the gun and he almost shot someone, which is not, they're not trying to shoot people. They just, trying to rob. get out of there. So he almost shot someone. He shot like at the window barrier thing on accident, almost hit someone, and then that's why he grabbed the gun. And that was the only time we see him shoot anything. He never shot, like, he shot there one time, and when is the second time he got shot? It was never explained, because they don't know, he doesn't know, he just got shot somehow, like, which I'm still confused about that.
Bleeding, Cherry asked James to drive to a hospital, but soon realized that if they do so, they'll be caught. So they leave him dying and then dump his body on the side of the road. The next morning, while Cherry is returning from a walk with Emily and their dog, Black is waiting for him outside the house. Black asks Cherry to repay his debt or else he'll kill Emily. Having no other choice, Cherry decides to commit one last robbery, and before leaving, he kisses Emily, saying goodbye. The scene then returns to the start of the movie, when Cherry is heading to a bank for a robbery. He instructs Black on the directions of the road, who is tasked to drive the getaway car. Inside the bank, he takes the money from the teller and asks her to set off the alarm before he leaves. He leaves the bank and gives all the money to Black, after which he walks openly in the middle of the road. To grab the police's attention, he fires a gunshot in the air and sits on the side of the road getting high one last time. The police finally arrive and Cherry's arrested. The film ends with an epilogue where Cherry is seen recovering from his drug addiction and trauma. He spends 14 years of his life serving his sentence and is finally released on parole in 2021. As he walks out of prison, he's pleased to see the love of his life, Emily, waiting for him happily. The movie has a rating of 6.6 on IMDb. I hope you all like this video. If yes, then make sure to like, comment.
Okay. Yeah, I if I was you, I would watch this movie. I mean, if you already watched this whole entire video, that's crazy. If you watch this full video, I suggest you go watch the video. I mean, the movie. It's a good movie. I suggest you watch it. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm done. Peace out.